Last month, hundreds of people in Burma protested against a China-backed energy pipeline project. Similar protests have erupted at Chinese-funded projects across Burma, forcing Beijing to rethink its development strategy in the country.
Activists say the pipeline has affected fishing and farming and destroyed the environment. VOA's Daniel Schearf reports.
The protest in western Rakhine State was the largest and most organized public opposition to the Burma-China pipeline project. Activists were twice denied a permit to assemble, but demonstrated anyway. Several were arrested. Speaking via Skype, activist WONG says there is too much at stake to remain silent.
Such as, the fishing ground we are being restricted, locals are not being getting any adequate compensation or keep losing their livelihood. And as well as the local people did not get any job opportunity, and most of the people are being exploited when they are going to work in the Chinese company.
Just a few years ago, protesting in Burma was pretty much not allowed. I mean, if you were on the streets, if you were defying the authorities, you were shut down really quickly and you were thrown in jail. Things have changed, of course. It's now legal to have gatherings as long as you get permission. And what happened with this protest that we had earlier this month on the pipelines was that they had sought permission to protest. That permission was denied not once, at least twice. And so they went ahead with their protest anyway because they felt like they needed to be heard. As a result, there were a few arrests, detentions that happened. They were released on bail from what we understand, but they were also charged with holding an illegal protest. So it remains to be seen exactly what kind of a sentence that they'll pass down.
What exactly are they protesting against? I mean, development brings jobs, brings money into the region.
Well, the main problem that the protesters saw was just the fact that they're not being brought into the actual project. This, of course, was a deal that was made during the previous military government with China. And whenever those kind of deals went down, they just didn't make many details public. And of course, the local people who are the most affected by it, they want to know what exactly is this going to do for us, and what's going to happen to my home? Am I going to have a place to live and so forth? And also a lot of concerns about how some of the pipeline construction would affect fishermen. They're not being allowed to fish in certain areas because of the construction that's going on. Concerns about the environment and what happens if there's a leak. So there's ongoing concerns about this pipeline project, and the locals just feel that they're not going to benefit from it.
Have these protests slowed down the development at all?
Well, in the case of the Myitsone Dam, it of course was slowed down completely. It was suspended until further notice. Analysts like Ralph COSSA, speaking via Skype, say authorities are learning they cannot ignore these protests.
It's a message, it's a wake-up call, both for the Burmese government and for the Chinese, that they have to sort of take local considerations into effect a little bit more. They need to be more effective in dealing with public relations. I'm sure that they will be. Again, we've already seen the Chinese start to take some positive actions in this regard, and I expect that will continue.
As far as the pipelines go, though, the pipelines are going to be completed sometime in the next month if they stay on schedule. It may take a few more weeks or a few more months than they had anticipated, but it's going to be completed very quickly, and they're expecting to start pumping natural gas as early as the end of May.
Daniel, I just have one more question about your forays into Burma. It was sort of a closed society a few years ago, so are they used to seeing foreigners by now? Are you still kind of looked at a little differently?
Yeah, Burma was very closed off to a large degree, and a lot of the reason behind that was, of course, because the democracy leader, the opposition leader Aung San Suu Kyi, had discouraged tourism. And so as a result of that, a lot of tourists and businessmen, of course, were concerned about the sanctions that were economic sanctions against the government. So doing business there was quite difficult. But that has changed dramatically in the last few years. To the point now where they don't have enough hotel rooms to actually put up all of the tourists and businessmen who are coming into town.
And our thanks again to VOA correspondent Daniel Schearf. The pipeline to China is expected to earn about $1 billion a year for Burma. China recently overtook the U.S. as the largest energy consumer in the world.